this little branch here will stay in the system. But the most common way that users work on this is that they just edit documents, and then the document they want is the most recent document in the version stack. Hope that makes sense. So I can make any of these docs current. I don't actually want to, because this doc in particular is my presentation doc we were just looking at, so I want that one to stay current. John asks, is there an API, and would using this as a base of layered products make sense? John, it would depend on what you're trying to do. We're over with that backup product. We've done that a lot with partners. A lot of our partners have integrated with our API. This is a very new product for us, so at this point, none of our partners have integrated with the Collaborate APIs, but you certainly could. So that might be something you want to talk to Derek Wood, the product manager here at SOS for Collaborate, about, but certainly possible. Stephen asks, can this service be directed to use the Canadian data center for storage as backup can? Absolutely, Stephen. I take it from that you're a current partner of ours, Stephen. Is that right? While Stephen's replying to that, Todd asks, do you have control of the versioning window? Todd, I'm not sure what you mean. I actually had the versioning window just up on screen. Do you mean the number of versions? Is that what you mean? Tony writes, I had an API question as well. Tony, I can probably answer your API question, so please do ask it here, and then if nothing else, we can follow up with Derek. John writes, all frozen, it seems, here. Hopefully everybody else is still getting live video coming through. Perhaps that's just on your end, John. So Stephen writes, in talks about becoming a partner. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, we've got 11 data centers around the world. In some countries, vendors prefer to keep the data in country. So a lot of our Canadian partners want the data to stay in Toronto. Australian partners feel similarly about Australia. That's totally doable. Talk to your partner specialist about that. The way it happens is it ends up just getting written in as a special condition of your contract, and we can certainly facilitate that. The countries where we can facilitate that are the United States, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Outside of those locations, you'd have to be in a foreign country facility. Okay, great. So let's just do a high-level flyby. I'm logged in as an administrator. I'm actually logged in as our product manager, Derek Wood. And on the screen here, you can see just some basic admin functionality. For example, I can see logins over time. I can see my top users. Not surprisingly, Derek's the top user. So we've got quite a bit of functionality built just right into the front page of the admin portal. And then I've got exposure to a lot of different admin functionality. I'm not going to get through all of it today, but for example, there's a report builder so that you can design custom reports over custom time periods for different things. File statistics, so you can actually see what's going on the downloads and uploads for every single file in the system. User statistics, similarly. And then let's actually get to users. So listing users, you can see here, these are all the users I've got in this Collaborate instance. So you would look at this, and this would be all your customers. For a given user, adding a new user is pretty simple. I can just fill in a little form like this, but there's also a bulk add users feature where if I do this, each time I fill one of these in, it's going to just add that user. So I can keep doing this, and I can sit here and just very quickly type in 50 users and then click OK. I'm not going to do that. Another way that you can add users is actually with our LDAP integration. So the tool will integrate with your LDAP server and bring all of those accounts across as you need to do them. Again, a pretty powerful feature. Probably one of the other, probably my most used feature as an admin is the ability to log in as another user. So if I pick, say, Jeff McCauley, our VP of Sales, oh, he's right here. And if I want to see what he sees, then I can switch to user and actually log in as Jeff. So you might notice here I'm now logged in as Jeff, and he's a business user. He doesn't have the admin tab because he's not an administrator, but here's all of Jeff's content. You can see what's shared, what's not, what he owns, etc. Extremely powerful feature as an administrator to be able to just immediately log into any of your child accounts. Drew asks, will you be talking about Android, iPhone, tablet access? So Drew, we use HTML5 throughout the system, and so right now it does work on Android tablets and iPad. Mobile phone support is something we're looking at. depending on your mobile phone, it's actually going to be quite usable. In fact, it's quite usable on my iPhone so long as I turn it sideways into landscape mode. And we'll be launching native apps later in the year, but you don't need a native app to use it at all. I use it quite extensively right now on my iPad and my iPhone. So now let's just go stepwise through the product. The update system is kind of like your news feed in Facebook or LinkedIn. So here I can see everything that's going on across all my files and all my people in the system, right? So I can see that 36 minutes ago, Derek grabbed the Collaborate presentation that I used for the earlier in the webinar. And I can see all of this that's going on. I can comment on these events right here in the stream. I can actually share, and I've got all of my different options. And we're going to dig into these options in a second. I can see changes across the file system. I can see downloads across the file system. I can control these incoming folders. And remember, incoming folders are kind of just like a Dropbox in the cloud. Your customers can just put content there, and it's going to magically show up in your Collaborate instance. Now, if we go across the files, this is where the real action is. You can see these are all my folders. Here's a file. It might be a little bit difficult to see over the webinar, but there's a little people watermark, two heads overlaid on these folders. And that means I'm collaborating with somebody on that folder versus this folder here, which is, I think, a folder of Derek's trip to Germany. He's not collaborating on that particular folder. Also, as I roll over these, I can see different owners. So whereas I can see here XCOM, Derek owns that folder. Here with lead campaigns and calendar, Rick Baruchi owns that. So Derek's seeing in his view because Rick has given him access to it, but Derek doesn't actually own that content. Now, Derek can go in and edit and upload because Rick's given him those permissions, but he doesn't own it. So at any time, Rick could take that away from Derek. In terms of, I can search, I can create new folders. I've already got a test folder here, which I can use, but one of the, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's look at our options. So on any given folder, when I click Share, I've got these immediate options. Invite collaborators to this folder. So that's giving other people with an account access. Just grab a secure link. So if I grab this link and just dump it into the webinar, you would all be able to access it, right? Because when I clicked Share, it became a public share, and now I can just access it anywhere on the web. In fact, if I click Open, you can see the sharee's view, right? So this is what a sharee who doesn't have an account sees. He sees the folder structure, sees all the files, he can comment and download. Now, I can password protect that share, which is super important. And, of course, I can unshare that content. Now, sharing with a collaborator and sharing with a non-collaborator, those are different things. So I can share with a non-collaborator and password protect it, or I can not do any public sharing at all. I can just give it to somebody else who has an account. That can get a little bit confusing, but really think of it as this. I either have an account or I don't. And somebody can share with me in both scenarios. It's just that I get a lot more power if I have an account. So again, just picking on any one of these documents, a super cool feature of Collaborate is our built-in preview system. It's not something that, say, Dropbox has, or really most of the tools in this space don't have this sort of technology. But on the fly, we convert documents to a viewable format, so you can view this doc right in the browser. You can see me here scrolling through this Word doc. Now, this uses Flash when we're in a browser, but it actually converts to HTML5 if you're accessing it from a non-Flash device. So in the case of, say, the iPad or the iPhone, this preview functionality still totally works. Now, with this file, I can also view its history, much as we did earlier. I can share this file. I can move it. I can delete it. I can see the properties of it. But because this is a Word file, I can actually edit it. So I can even go one step further than just seeing content in the cloud. I can edit content in the cloud. So I'd rather find some test files that I can edit than editing a real document of Derek's. Okay, so on this particular file, I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And this is often an aha moment for our customers who see the product, because what we're about to do is we're about to edit a Word doc when we don't have Microsoft Word installed. So I don't have Word installed in this system. I'm not using Word, but I am editing this document, edited during Collaborate webinar, right in the cloud, and then saving that content back. No software, all delivered through the cloud, fully shared, functionality. And so this really goes to the heart of what it is that we're doing with Collaborate. It is my in-cloud whiteboard. It's a place where lots of people can come together to work. I don't need to download this file to read it. I don't need to download this file to work on it. I can do those things, but I can actually edit and control my content right in the cloud, which is pretty amazing. And if we go back to our news stream, you'll see here that 22 seconds ago, I edited the document, right? Quite a very powerful system. So we've got some more questions on the line. John asks, I have some customers that would like to share a QuickBooks file that can accept multi-user access. Is this possible? John, yes. So it is definitely possible to do multi-user access. Our web-based editing system isn't going to let you edit a QuickBooks file, so you're probably going to have to download that file and then work on it. But hopefully that's okay. Now, in terms of collaborators, I can easily add collaborators, and this is where your revenue dollars come in. So if I want to share a folder with somebody, I can easily share a folder here, test folder from Pat. I can type in, if I had the email address for anybody on the line, I don't, I would just type in your email address right here. I'll type in my own Gmail. I can set my permissions, so viewing or plus editing, set a description, invite collaborators. Now what that immediately does is hits out an email to my Gmail account inviting me to create an account.